Hey there, folks. I'm Mark, in affiliation with Spectrum Pulse. And hey, we got another smaller week, because it's Billboard BREAKDOwn. I don't remember. You know, the more of these weeks where things are relatively manageable, the more all my worries about an insane October begin to look a little silly. Now, trust me when I say the heavy stuff is coming. It's likely going to cascade into November, and the main channel, I'm still a little overwhelmed. I'm just frankly appreciative of the small weeks while I still have them, because again, then they might not last. Of course, that makes our current top 10 all the more exasperating, because Bad Habit by Steve Lacy did hold at number 1 for another week, but that's marginal, and it's mostly thanks to slowly ascending on the radio, because the challenger is close behind. Unholy by Sam Smith and Kim Petras up to number 2, dominant on sales and streaming, and while it currently lags on the radio, it's got traction. Hell, it overtook As It Was by Harry Styles down to number 3, which is on the downswing, nearly losing its radio dominance, although thankfully holding up a margin against I Like You, a happier song by Post Malone and Doja Cat at number 4, which spent most of this week not quite narrowing the airplay margin and then losing streaming. And hell, that was all it had to get over Sunroof by Nicki Yor and Daisy at number 5, which spent its radio week wavering. Then we saw a pickup for I Ain't Worried by One Republic at number 6. The radio is still on board, and the sales pickup offset some streaming losses, and that's a similar case for You Proof by Morgan Wallen up to number 7, which is stable on streaming and is still picking up the radio and hasn't been shipped to pop yet, but I honestly think some of this is more tied to Super Freaky Girl by Nicki Minaj sliding down to number 8, as despite making pop inroads, it also took a streaming hit. Finally, sliding back into the top 10 on being mostly stable across the board is The Kind of Love We Make by Luke Combs at number 9, and About Damn Time by Lizzo just clinging on at number 10 despite really being on the outs. And that naturally takes us to our losers and dropouts. Not much in the latter group this week, both So Good by Halsey and Pink Venom by Blackpink. They were on their way out anyway, and that might as well be true with a lot of our losers as well, with Break My Soul by Beyonce down to 50, Last Night Lonely by John Party at 69, and Shut Down by Blackpink at 88. But we also had Tomorrow 2 by Glorilla and Cardi B slip off the debut to 22, kind of as I expected, and Ghost Story by Carrie Underwood wobble yet again down to 87. Finally, Numb by Marshmello and Khalid hit 59. This is just never taking off in the States the way it did elsewhere, interesting. And Put It On Me by Youngboy Never Broke Again fell down to 80. Frankly, I'm kind of surprised it lasted this long. I've forgotten this song even existed. But now onto our gains and returns, and in the latter group we saw Love You Better by Future back at 93, given that it's set up as his next radio push. You couldn't just go with gold stacks there? Come on. But we did have a healthy list of gains, starting off with the inexplicable TikTok virality of No Si Va by Grupo Frontera to 77. I mean, I know it's not going to last that long off the debut, but it's still exasperating. But then we got the expected boost for Cuff It by Beyonce to 36, probably is going to wind up caught between years the way it's going, which I also hope will happen to Victoria's Secret by Jax up to 38. Probably is also going to happen to Until I Found You by Steven Sanchez up to 47, whereas for Wait in the Truck by Hardy featuring Lainey Wilson at 60, and Pick Me Up by Gabby Barrett at 71, I'm not really sure I see either of them becoming big enough hits to really be contenders anyhow. And that takes us to our only 5 new arrivals this week. Let's get it started with number 99, What He Didn't Do by Carly Pearce. So let me make this abundantly clear. I think this is a very good, if not quite great, song from Carly Pearce, who sounds excellent as she untangles the messy fallout of her divorce. And while she could very easily ruin this guy, she chooses to be more circumspect, to only talk about what he didn't do for some plausible deniability, and also take something closer to the high road. And I like how the song highlights that neglect can often be just as toxic in bad relationships, and that longing to be loved really translates. With the warmer acoustics, the softer pedal steel, the melancholy comes through. But I don't know, I wouldn't put it among the best of the album. It's not Next Girl or 29 or Diamondback. The lyrical cadence feels a bit jerky, the composition feels a bit melodically predictable. It feels like it is flipping conventions, but just not far enough. Still, it is pretty damn close to being great. Hope it gets traction. Check it out. Number 97, Forget Me by Louis Capaldi.
You know how to forget me. I'd rather hear how much you regret me and pray to God that you never met me.
You know, I don't particularly like this guy, but it's more that I don't find Louis Capaldi interesting enough to really follow and actively dislike. I mean, that's true with the long line of the wannabe singer-songwriters chasing Ed Sheeran. There's just not enough there for me to put in the work to care. But fine, new charting single for that next upcoming album. Probably could get a bit of radio if played right. And I'll give him this, I don't think it's really a bad song. It's pivoting to more of a softer late 80s pop song with the piano and the fizzy patter of the percussion and the bubbling bass line that seems like it's trying to build more of a dance groove. It's more Niall Horan of the 1975 than the easy listening ballad material Capaldi used to shovel out. And the sentiment of the song, not terrible. It's the definition of not being over this girl 2 years later, especially after she just dumps on him relentlessly, most of which he acknowledges is his fault, but he can't bear the thought of being forgotten by her. Honestly, the hook is kind of really clingy, and given how Capaldi just bellows over the song, it's not easy to forget, but not in a good way. His vocals are mixed way too close and loud, and he's got no command of restraint or how to ride this groove well. Hell, give this Niall Horan, I would probably make at least a couple of excuses for it, but Capaldi is once again the worst part of his own song, so I can't recommend it. Number 96, Gotta Move On by Diddy and Bryson Tiller.
Hey, oh yeah, oh yeah.
So let me get this straight. Diddy's founding a new record label, he's putting out a project where this is the lead-off single, and all you got from Bryson Tiller was one verse and one bridge? You think this is gonna move the needle? Now granted, this track has picked up more buzz because the remix had Ashanti addressing the whole Irv Gotti drama, but for the original that charted, no, not impressed. Bryson Tiller's doing a Chris Brown impression smothered in even more warbling auto-tune. The keyboards, they're kind of nice in a 90s R&B lane, but feel a little bit awkward against the chalky percussion. And for as much as Bryson Tiller knows that he's gotta keep moving on, he's also got Not Over It all over his increasingly bitchy verse, where he calls this girl's love lazy, and admits that he was also kind of a drunken mess in all their arguments. I don't know, to me this feels more like the idea of a song rather than something that feels fully fleshed out or that interesting. And it feels really insincere in how it's trying to goad a reaction out of this girl. So, yeah, I don't like this either. Number 94, Tennessee Orange by Megan Moroney.
I'm wearing Tennessee orange for him.
I've got some mixed opinions on country artists going viral on TikTok. I mean, on the one hand, absolutely a disruptor to Music Row. You get acts like Zach Bryan. On the other hand, there's just as much manipulation and astroturf on that app that a lot of fans stubbornly refuse to acknowledge. I just wish the public was more conscious of it beyond some dumb industry plan accusations. Now with Megan Moroney, it feels like there might be some of both. As of now, she is independent, seems to be putting her degree in marketing to very good use, helping this go viral, but a lot of it is tied to a connection with Morgan Wallen and some rumors of a relationship, and I'm sorry, I've seen the industry pull this shit before for the relative unknowns. Still, she put out an EP in the past couple of years, and this song went viral, and I actually get why. It's got some charm to it. Very neo-traditional and well-balanced in the pedal steel and the subtle groove, working well for Moroney's huskier vocals. And then there's the content. Given that college football's in full swing, I'm not surprised this went viral as a love song where she's so head over heels over this new guy that she's actually wearing his team's colors to the games, even if she still does want her team to win. I'm a bit torn on that, given that I like sports metaphors and music, but it feels like it's bending over further than you might expect for this guy, which is believable, but leaves the song feeling a bit childish and flighty. Now granted, I don't have the college football gene. I'm Canadian, that should not be a surprise. And I'm sure in the South this might have more charm and weight to it. As it is, it's cute. Pretty decent. I'll give it a chance. And finally, number 81, Toxic by YG. I don't know why there's a part of me that's still hoping YG pulls something together. He's made more mediocre music than good. Still Brazy was 6 years ago, and it's not like this new album was getting good reviews either. But he did get this to chart with a very prominent Mary J. Blige flip of the 1994 song Be Happy, and yeah, this isn't good at all. For one, the blend of the vocal sample and hook feels really clumsy, especially if the fidelity does not match the very crisp West Coast piano groove and the percussion, or even YG's vocals, which you kind of need if you're just using her for the entire hook. And let's face it, YG does not sell ladies man with any convincing swagger here. He's always been kind of clumsy, and here it's just obvious. Now, that's also part of the point. The song's called Toxic because he falls in love with the side chick, and instead of actually dealing with those feelings despite buying her cars and bags and vacations, and then introducing her to his mom, he then snaps back when she starts looking for more. I mean, most of the second verse is about her being confused that he's now ending it, especially as earlier in the same verse he says he's open to having 2 baby mamas, to the point where his actual partner isn't in the picture that's built by this song. So it's less like she's disobeying his rules and fell too hard, and more like he's playing mixed signals and gaslighting because he's thinking with his dick. I mean, credit for the self-awareness. He knows it's toxic, but this is the sort of tragedy where YG is less player and more asshole, and he's nowhere near smooth enough to pull this off, especially in his furtive attempts at melody and how the production doesn't come together. So yeah, it's bad. Worst of the week hands down, but the best? Yeah, Carly Pearce is gonna get that for what he didn't do, although Megan Moroney made it more of a competition than I did expect. Now next week, I just don't know at this point. Maybe a song or two from Charlie Puth or Willow or that Quavo Takeoff thing, or still more Youngboy to come. But things could be heating up, we'll have to see. But until then, I'm Mark, you're watching Billboard Breakdown, affiliated with Spectrum Pulse. And I'll see you next time.